what's going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So up till now, we only focus on displaying data in a table view. I guess you are thinking how we can interact with the table view and detect row selections. This is what we are going to discuss in this lesson. We'll continue to polish the Cafegram app, which we have built in the previous lesson, and add a couple of enhancements. Okay? For instance, bring up a menu when a user taps a cell. The menu offers two options, call and check-in. Okay? Through implementing these new features, you will also learn how to use UIAlertController, which is commonly used to display alerts in iOS apps. Cool, right? So if you're ready now, let's get started. Okay, relaunch the previous project. Okay, like this. And before starting anything, you have to know that the UI Tableview class applies two protocols that are designed for different purposes. Okay, the UI Tableview Datasource protocol defines methods which are used for managing table data. It relies on the delegate to provide the table data. On the other hand, the UI Tableview delegate protocol is responsible for setting the section headings and footers of the table view, as well as handling cell selections and cell reordering. Okay? To manage the row selection, we will implement some of the methods in the UI Tableview delegate protocol. Typically, you use the didSelectRowAt method. It's called after the user selects a row to handle the row selection. We will implement this method to perform additional tasks after a row is selected. Okay? That's enough for the explanation. Let's move on to the interesting part and write some code. In the Cafegram project, open the CafeTableviewController.swift file and implement the didSelectRowAt method in the CafeTableviewController class. Okay, first let me write the code and then I will explain what is it. Okay, so we are going to call the didSelectRowAt method like this. Okay, and now I'm going to write some code, but before starting I'm going to override it like this. We create an option menu as an action sheet. Okay, so I'm going to create the option menu like this by calling the UIAlertController object. Okay, we're not going to give any title to this, so you put nil. The message will be, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Okay, and finally the style for this alert controller will be action sheet. But don't worry, I'm going to show you the two ways, okay, because you can also call the alert style. Okay, then we're going to add some actions, add actions to the menu. You have to create it like this, and you use a UI alert action object. Okay, like this. The title will be cancel. The style, you have many choices, but we're going to select cancel. Okay, as it's a cancel action. And finally, for handler, you put nil, because we don't expect any action after clicking on the cancel button. Okay, right. Once you have created the action, you have to add it to the option menu. So you call option menu and you say add actions. add action like this, then you just write the action into the parentheses. Okay, cool. And then we have to display the menu like this. You call the option menu, okay, like this, and finally completion nil. Cool. And now if we run our simulator, every time I click on a cell, you will see the option menu displayed. Okay, so here if I click on the Friends Cafe, you can see our menu. I noticed that I forgot here this. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the above code creates an option menu by instantiating a UIAlertController object. When a user taps any rows in the table view, this method will be called automatically to bring up an action sheet showing a what do you want to do message and a cancel button. Okay, so now if I stop my simulator and I change this style to alert, you will see that the menu will be displayed differently. Okay, it will be displayed in the center of the view here. So it's up to you what style do you prefer for your app. Okay, cool. So for this tutorial we need the action sheet style. Okay, so in addition to displaying a message to users, you can assign actions to the alert controller to give users a way to respond. Okay, to do that, you create a UI alert action object with your preferred title, style, and the block of code to execute for the action. In the code snippet, we create a cancel action object with the title cancel and .cancel style. Okay, there is nothing to perform when a user selects the cancel action, thus the handler is set to nil. Okay, after the UI alert action object is created, you can assign it to the alert controller by using the add action method. Okay, when the alert controller is configured properly, you can present it modally using the present method here. Okay, this is how you use the UI alert controller class to present an alert on screen. Okay, now let's add two more actions to the alert controller. First, we're going to add the call action, the call phone number of the selected cafe. Okay, we will populate a fake phone number and display call 123 X, where X is the index of the selected row. Of course, the app cannot call the number. We will just display an alert prompt on screen. Okay, and the second action will be the check-in action. When selected, this option adds a check mark to the selected cafe. Okay, so right now in the didSelectRowAdd method, add the following code for the call action. You can insert the code after the initialization of cancel action. Okay, here. So add call action. We're going to create the call action handler. Let call action handler like this. So action, because we need a UI alert action in order to activate this handler. Okay, UI alert action Just write with me and then I will explain you what does that mean, okay? Let alert message equal UI alert controller service unavailable. Okay, message will be sorry, the call feature is not available yet. Please retry later. Okay, and the style this time will be alert. Okay, cool. Then we're going to add an action to this alert message. So alert message dot add action, and I'm going to write it directly into the parentheses. Okay, so UI alert action like this. So the button will be okay. Okay, the style will be default this time, and the handler will be nil. Okay, then I present like before the alert message. Okay, present. Typically you write self before a method, a property, when it's included into some braces. Okay, so I write alert message true and nil. Cool. And once I create my call action handler, I can create the call action, okay, like that. So the title will be call space then plus 1 2 3 then okay, the style will be default, and the handler, this time we're going to use the call action handler that we have written just before here above. Okay, and finally I can add this action to the option menu like this. Cool. So we can run the simulator once to see what we get. Okay, so as you can see, we have this new action now presented in the menu. So when I click on it, you can see service unavailable. Sorry, the call feature is not available yet. Please retry later, with the OK button to quit this pop-up. Cool. In the code above, the call action handler object is new to you. As mentioned before, you can specify a block of code as a handler when creating a UI alert action object. The block of code will be executed after the user has selected the action. Okay. Previously, we specify nil in the cancel action here. Okay. In the cancel action object. That means we don't have any follow-up action for the cancel button. For the call action object, it's a bit different. We assign it with call action handler. The code block displays an alert telling the user that the call feature is not yet available. Okay? Technically, this block of code is known as closure in Swift. Like the example above, one way to provide the action closure is to declare it as a constant or a variable with the block of code as the value. Okay? The first part of the code block is identical to the definition of the handler parameter of UI alert action. The in keyword indicates that the definition of the closures, parameters, and return type as finished, and the body of the closure will begin. Okay? The code specified in the body of the closure shouldn't be new to you. We create a UIAlertController to display the warning. However, instead of using the action sheet here, we use the alert style. The title of the call action object is a fake phone number. It's generated by concatenating 123 with the selected row index. As you can see from the code, you can easily concatenate strings using the addition operator plus. In addition, you can create a string from an integer or other literals. Okay? All you need is to wrap a pair of parentheses prefixed with a backslash like this. Okay? Following the implementation of the call action, add the following lines of code for the check-in action. Check-in action. Let check-in action equal UI alert action like this. Title check-in. The style will be default this time too, and handler. I'm gonna show you another way to write an action handler. So you just click once on this space and you press enter. Okay, like this. So we are going to again put a parameter like that, action UI alert action. Then you press enter and you write let cell equal Tableview dot cell for row at index path. Okay, this is our index path, and then cell dot accessory type equal check mark, this one. Okay, and finally you just add this action to the option menu like the other. Okay, check-in action. Cool. So the above code shows you another way to use closure. You can write the closure in line as a parameter of the handler. This is the preferred way as the code is clearer and more readable. Okay, so when a user selects the check-in option, we add a check mark to the selected cell to indicate he or she has been to the cafe. For a table view cell, the right part is reserved for an accessory view. Okay, this one. Okay, so the first line of the code block retrieves the selected table cell using index path here, which contains the index of the selected cell. The second line updates the accessory type property of the cell with a check mark. Okay, for now, when you select a row, the row is highlighted in gray here, as you can see here, and stayed as selected. Add the following code at the end of the didSelect row at method to deselect the row. Okay, so here just write Tableview dot deselect row at index path false. Okay, so now if we run again our simulator, and if we tap on a cell, it won't be highlighted anymore. Okay, cool. But as you can see here, we hit a bug. Indeed, the app looks great if you look at it closely. However, there is a bug in the app. Say you mark the black ring coffee here. If you scroll down using the check-in action, if you scroll down the table, you will find that another cafe also contains a check mark. So what's the problem? Why did the app add an extra check mark? Actually, the problem is due to cell reuse that we have discussed in the previous lesson. For example, the table view has 30 cells. For performance reason, instead of creating 30 table cells, UI table view may just create 10 cells and reuses them as you scroll through the table, okay? In this case, UI table view reuses the first cell for displaying another cafe. In our code, we only update the UI image view and labels when the table view reuses the same cell, okay? So the accessory view is not updated. Thus, the next cafe reusing the same cell shares the same accessory view, okay? If the accessory view contains a check mark, that cafe will also carry a check mark. So how can we resolve the bug? We have to find another way to keep track of the checked items. How about creating another array to save the checked cafes? In the cafe tableview controller.swift file, declare a Boolean array here. Okay, bool is a data type in Swift that holds a Boolean value. Swift provides two Boolean values, true and false. We declare the cafe is visited array to hold a collection of bool values. Each value in the array indicates whether the corresponding cafe is marked as check-in. The values in the array are initialized to false. In other words, the items are unchecked by default. The above code shows you a way to initialize an array in Swift with repeated values. The initialization is the same as the following. Okay, so this both array mean the same. We have to make a couple of changes in order to fix the bug. First, we need to update the value of the bool array when a cafe is checked. Okay, add a line of code in the handler of the checkin action object. So where is the checkin action object? Here. Okay, we just write that self cafe is visited index path dot row, okay, and put true. Okay, the code is very straightforward. We update the value of the selected item from false to true. Lastly, add a few lines of code to update the accessory view in the cell for row add method before returning cell here. Okay, so if cafe is visited dot row is true, cell dot accessory type equal to check mark. Okay, otherwise cell dot accessory type is equal to none. Okay, here we check if the cafe to be displayed is marked. If the condition is true, we display a check mark in the cell. Otherwise, just display nothing. We now refer to the cafe is visited array to see if the cafe is marked. Okay, so even if the cell is reused, we can display the accessory view correctly. Now compile and run the app again. The bug should now be resolved. Okay, so if I click check-in, there is no other cell with this check-in mark. Cool. Okay, as a side note, you can further simplify the above if condition to a single line of code using the ternary conditional operator. Okay, so here we can write cell.accessoryType equal cafe is visited indexPath.row, and if the condition is true, you give the first solution. Otherwise, if it's not, you give the second one, like this. So this portion and this line mean the same thing. Okay, cool. The ternary conditional operator is an efficient shorthand for evaluating the simple condition. Okay, presently the app doesn't allow users to uncheck the checkmark, so we'll alter the code such that the app can toggle the checkmark. Okay, we'll also need to show a different title for the Endo check-in button if the selected cell is marked. Okay, it's not too hard to make the changes. So here, first of all, we're going to create two titles for the check-in action. Okay, so let check action title equal, it depends on the value of the cafe is visited index.row. So cafe is visited index.row, and if it's set to true, then automatically we have to show undo check-in to deselect. Okay, like this. Otherwise, if it's initially set to false, we have to display check-in like this. And once we have created this value check action title, you can simply copy paste it into the title here. Okay, fine. Now we have to indicate how the check mark will be displayed or not according to the title. So here, first of all, we can indicate that we are using our own cell like this. Here we're going to write self.cafe is visited indexPath.row like this is equal to self.cafe visited like this. And if its value was initially to true, we're going to write false. Otherwise, if it was initially set to false, we're going to write true. Okay, fine. And now, according to this line, we're going to inform concerning the accessory type. Okay, so as we have declared our own Tableview cell, you can erase the question mark like this, and then we are going to write self.cafe is visited. So we are going to toggle the accessory type and the value of cafe is visited index.row. If the value of self.cafe is visited indexPath.row is true, we set the accessory type to none. Okay, and if it's set to false, we set the accessory type to checkmark. Okay, so right now we are going to relaunch our simulator and see if that works. Okay, so right now if I tap on this cell, we see check-in. So I press check-in, we have our check mark. Okay, then I tap again on this cell, as you can see, we have the undo check-in title. Cool. And if I click on it, as you can see, the check mark is not displayed anymore. Cool. So I think that's all for today, guys. Okay. Thanks for watching this series. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to be notified for my upcoming videos, right? That's all for today, guys. Bye-bye.